Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man whose own bookie won't take his bets anymore. It's Johnny Numb.
Mark, I want to put 15 down on this episode being the breakthrough success in the States. It's going to hit number one in the States. You're finally going to get that number one. 15, or you don't get anything at all, man. Come on. You're going to be on the winning team or the losing team here.
You already owe me 30 because you said I was going to be number one in Australia for 6 months straight after our last one. So do you want to put 45 down?
Yeah, I think that's a fair bet. You know, even though you'll probably blow up my house with my girlfriend and my cat in it, but you know, it's a risk I'm willing to take.
I wouldn't blow up your cat. I would take your cat in front of you, and then I would blow up your house. No,
that would be worse actually.
I would kidnap you and just send you pictures of me having a vacation with your cat, and we're just kind of hanging out, surfing, kicking on a cruise, chilling, eating gelato in Italy, and then just keep all these photos coming to you, and then blow you up.
I think my cat needs to tan her belly. It's way too white. Yeah. So, yeah.
Just eating gelato in Italy and just sending you pictures.
She's eating Temptations flavored gelato, trademark.
And then at the Friskies,
yeah.
Then I learned that you're like, oh, I'm just glad the cat's having a great time. And I'm like, oh, no thanks. Like, then I just go do something terrible. Be like Harvey Keitel. Can I tell you something about this movie, Bad Lieutenant? When you first suggested it to me, I thought it was a Nick Cage Herzog film, which, there's iguanas and Val Kilmer and Nick Cage, and it's very Herzogian. Yep. But then you told me about that. No, it's the 1992 Bad Lieutenant, directed by Abel Ferrara, Harvey Keitel, and I was like, oh, cool, let's do it. I mean, if you suggest something, I'll probably say yes, as long as it's not like a Stuart Gordon $10,000 costing film. I'll be like, hey,
okay.
But I was like, hey, let's go do this. Like, let's talk about it. And then I started reading about this movie, and it's one of Scorsese's favorite of the 1990s. It's a movie that is really looked at now as a cult classic, a gritty cult classic that was really hampered by its NC-17 rating, and then eventually, cut down to an R rating, which made it quite toothless and kind of pointless. But watching this movie, Johnny, and I'm really glad you did, and I think it fits really well with our Feel Good series, because this movie has to be like this. It cannot be an R-rated film. It cannot be a HBO film. This has to be an NC-17, Harvey Keitel, method acting, Abel Ferrara, on location, no permits, camera over the shoulder, real locations, grit, grime. This has to be this nasty, because this character is just so bad. Literally.
It's right there in the title. Yeah.
But it has to be. This is a movie that it needs its bumps and bruises, because if not, it's just another one of those movies where bad men are, bad men, and you feel bad for them. Or, you watch that movie Blow, and people idealize that movie. But at the end, they're like, his daughter still hasn't called him. It's like, why would his daughter call him? He's a drug dealer who completely treated her horribly. Are we supposed to feel bad? I felt so insulted by that ending. This movie, Johnny, woo-wee, it's Harvey Keitel should have gotten an Oscar nomination. I don't know if NC-17 can. I don't know if they played by the rules or did SAG or any of that. But man, this is a movie.
No, I think that's the reason this might be the most feel good of the feel good movies we've covered so far. Takes it to a whole new level. But yeah, I totally agree with you. It's a movie that's haunting. I think I've watched it, counting watching it for this show. This maybe my fourth time watching it over the course of 10 years, or maybe a little less than that. It's just a movie you don't need to watch too often, because so much of it's like a fly sticking to excrement, kind of. That's how this movie kind of sticks to you, or it's like it's sort of like some bad starchy food that sticks to your ribs or whatever. It's like you can't really shake it off. It kind of
it's the oatmeal of movies.
Well, when you say it like that, Mark, it makes it sound kind of wholesome and bland as a breakfast paste. But no. Bad Lieutenant, it's the oatmeal of movies. Oh. And the kid smiles at the screen. Yeah.
Can someone put that on a movie poster? The oatmeal of movies. Real quick, Johnny Numb, I said that
Yeah,
Top
go
Gun
ahead.
Maverick features the best button pushing and knob turning of all time, and then someone put that on a poster with my name under it.
Oh, fuck
This
yeah,
is
that's
like a
awesome.
this
Sorry,
is like a
sorry. F yeah,
oh, it's
yeah.
fine. Hey, PG-13. But yeah, that was the it's not really on the Top Gun, but I just love that someone just imposed it on there because it's like I said it has the greatest knob turning ever, and now Bad Lieutenant is the oatmeal of movies.
And you have to have sort of like an X-rayed image of like Harvey Keitel pointing the gun like behind the quote, kind of like sort of stenciled there. Bad Lieutenant is the oatmeal of movies. Eat your your aunt tells you to eat your freaking oatmeal. Eat your freaking oatmeal.
What are you, men? Like, what? She's gonna be in there all afternoon? She's the worst,
Kick her
man.
out.
Aunt Wendy is the worst, bro. Like,
Apparently, yeah.
there's so many people in that house. There's that scene where he's just laying on the couch, conked out, and about 40 people enter, and you're like, what do these people think of this maniac?
Well, I love how the I guess the mother or the grandmother in the house just like twice she just gives him a look, and it's like this 1,000-yard stare. Like, I know. It's like it's really like a kind of who's gonna save your soul look. It says so much without saying anything at all. Yeah.
And everyone's so done with him that they don't even argue with him anymore. The kids don't yell at him. The kids are like, yeah, dad, whatever. The mom
Yeah.
doesn't say, hey, come on, Frankenstein, or whatever she called him, come eat.
Yeah.
Everyone in the house is just like, we have a maniac. Just let him
Yeah.
do what he wants. He's gonna do what he wants. And I totally interrupted you earlier with oatmeal. But
No, that's okay.
if you want to continue that thought, I can happily give you the floor back.
Well, Mark, thinking back to when we talked about Elle and Isabelle Huppert and how that film was kind of difficult, and but it was really good, and it did get, I feel like it got nominated for something
Best
that year.
actress.
Oh, so Huppert did get
Yeah.
nominated. Okay, because I was like, that was a really challenging role.
Yes, it was.
I mean, that film has a lot of humor in it for what it's different than this because there is a lot of intentional humor in it. But I just think this with the NC-17 and Harvey Keitel bearing all and doing some pretty really nasty stuff in this film to himself and other people. I think the Academy is like, oh, we got to step back from that. It's a bit too scary. That crazy Abel Ferrara guy, he's a loose cannon.
Mm-hmm.
We love the movie, but what's it gonna say if we nominate this performance even? So I was just like, he should have at least been. I mean, I usually don't get too bogged up in that, oh, this should have been nominated sort of thing, but it's a performance that just, like I said, sticks with, like oatmeal. It sticks with you, and it's like I think in a way that the Bad Lieutenant is a film that's going to outlast a lot of, the saying is like nobody remembers like the best picture winner, like sometimes like a week after, it's like nobody remembers what won, because it is usually kind of a sterile or kind of risk averse choice. That's not always the case.
It's like the number 3. It's not the number 1. Like people just put the safe pick, and then by the way the voting goes, it just wins because it's not totally objectionable, but it's not totally amazing, but it's just in the middle, so it never gets placed at like number 10, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the meat in the middle movie is the one that gets the attention. Like not always, not always, but just generally speaking, I haven't watched the Oscars in a long time just because I've lost interest in it.
This is not a meat in the middle movie.
No, this is a film to determine who your friends are.
Yeah.
If you show it to them and they dig it, it's like, okay, you're cool. Well, not if you want to be like him.
Yeah, exactly.
You're cool if you appreciate what the film is trying to convey. Yeah.
It's kind of the Fight Club test where you love the movie because of the style and what it's saying, but if they're like Tyler Durden is the greatest human being ever,
yeah,
it's like run away.
Yeah, it's like step back,
yeah.
walk slowly backward. Yeah,
back it up, like Michael Pena in the Ant-Man movies. Back it up, just back it up. But you know what? I love this movie because one of the things I've learned, and especially with our Feel Good series, is that I don't like it when movies pull punches. I don't like it when a movie tackles something that is very serious but treats it stylistically. There's a movie called Cherry with Tom Holland, where I remember initially watching it and like, whatever, it's B minus. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, they just put style over substance abuse, and they made it all glossy with color grading, and they never they never showed how ugly it gets. And I really don't like the movie anymore. I dislike it because it's so kid friendly, but that topic should not be kid friendly. And this Bad Lieutenant, if you have that scene with those two girls and you make it anything less than what it is, you are pulling your punches, and you are almost insulting the audience with their time. This needs to be a putrid act. This needs to be an actor channeled Satan and for a few brief minutes and pulled this performance. This is, you need that ugliness. And a lot of people won't like that ugliness, but you, me, and people who are starting to catch on to this film, I just think it has to be be that ugly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's
I've said that before, but my bad.
No, it's okay, and I totally agree with that. I think it's like, because to what you were saying about the Tom Holland movie, which I haven't seen, I get that's something that frustrates me with even some of the more some of the independent films that come out these days. Is like you start off with like a tough subject, and then the more the film goes on, the more they kind of they're pulling back from the horror of something, whether it's drug addiction, violence, economic strife, or something like that. Studios like A24 and I would say Neon, your independents are just as guilty of that as like a major Hollywood studio, depending on what the film is. And I'm not condemning those studios because I love most of what they put out, but you really got to go full in, because Bad Lieutenant is biblical in its, soul dredging, and I don't mean to be so overt there, but it really, in a way, Mark, I was talking about Elle, and now I'm thinking about First Reformed and how that film tackled religion, albeit in a very different way than this. So it's like there's this push-pull between the total corruption of this character and the fact that he seems to have no qualms with all the harm he inflicts on himself, others, and then there's this fact that it's like, oh yeah, I'm a Catholic, I'm blessed, nobody can kill me, he famously says at one point, and I kind of think that's interesting, and I kind of love the hubris of that as well, because it's like, oh, you're just racking up so much bad karma here, and it's eventually going to it's eventually going to strike back. I think karma's going to expedite its intentions for the lieutenant. Yeah.
I mean, this is a man who he needs his bumps in the morning. Then he has to drink his vodka to level out those bumps. And then he shows up to Zoe Lund's house, or not a house, hole in the wall. She has a tragic story, but he shows up to her with a 6-pack of Diet Coke. He needs the caffeine then to boost him up. And then he goes and gets some coffee. Then he takes some heroin, but then you got to get uppers after that. So this is a guy who, every instance of his life, over his life, he is currently in a point where he has to medicate to, like, he's so, and then like just the way he is talking, 2 women are murdered, and then he talks about a ball game. He is, I think he's almost beyond repair at this point. So I'm so happy that this movie doesn't, as good as it gets. You have a horrible human being, but a good woman makes you right.
Exactly.
This guy is not getting right. He's the ain't rights from Green Room, and I just keep mentioning our episodes. So that's what I like though. Sometimes these movies show horrible people so stylistically, and they try to make you like them. Walter White was capable of some horrible murders, but then people are like, I love him so much. He was a nerd. Then he became a god, and it's like, no, he pursued each step. Like so I know they never made him the hero of the show, but it's really refreshing to watch a movie that actually I think gets the message right, but then got punished with an NC-17 rating. It shows the debauchery, the depression. It's all ugly. Everything is ugly in this movie. And I mean, that's a testament to everyone involved and the $1 million budget and the 25-day shoot.
Yeah.
But even knowing Zoe Lund, this movie is even really dripping with authenticity, sadly. So Yeah, I'm so happy you turned me on to this movie because, I bought the Blu-ray, I listened to the commentary, I watched the documentary, and this is this shooting by the hip kind of
Hmm.
renegade New York director. And I did watch The Addiction. I said I had never seen one of
Oh,
his movies,
okay.
but I have
All
seen
right.
The Addiction.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
that Viking, where am I tonight? That
The
vamp,
Northman, Mark. The
that
Northman.
movie I love.
I still need to see it. Yeah.
I adore it. I can't believe someone gave 70 million to Robert Eggers to make a Viking epic. And so,
70
yeah.
million. I didn't know it was that much. Okay.
And
All
here's the
right.
thing, and it's because of that it won't be like The Lighthouse. There's not as many
Hmm.
farts or, mermaid genitalia.
Right.
But when you think of it as like a $70 million movie, it's out there. So I bought it. I didn't have seen it. I just bought the Blu-ray. I was like, I need this movie. But yeah,
Nice.
it's,
Nice.
where was I? Vikings. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Vampires.
Yeah, vampires. That attack at the end of The Addiction is minutes long. It was just a brutal attack. And
Are you talking about the party scene?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
just brutal. So
Hmm.
that's what I like about this guy. And you know what's interesting? They wanted Walken at first, and they thought of this
Oh
movie as a
yeah.
comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that didn't happen.
Hmm. And because every time I watch the Blu-ray, it's like I have to watch the documentary because I love listening to the people talk about what it was like to shoot this movie because it's very, like you said, shoot from the hip. It's interesting because it's not like, oh yeah, it was like first and second AD were getting me coffee and all that boring big studio crap. It was more like, yeah, it was the movie came about because of a song I wrote. And if I had my guitar was in the shop, I would play it for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could.
this club was functioning, and like we didn't even have permits, and we brought a camera in there, one light, and we could still walk through.
At 1 o'clock in the morning, dig. Yeah.
And he's like, man, at 50, Harvey Keitel's still a sex symbol. Oh man. And he's like, these ladies hated me.
I love listening to Abel Ferrara explain his art. It's just like one of the true pleasures of. I haven't listened to the commentary, but I imagine that's a lot of fun to listen to too.
They complain
Yeah.
about the transfer a lot. It gets a little annoying. They're like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
they're not showing all the blacks here. Oh, like, oh, look at the colors. Like, who did this? Like, it's a lot of that.
I mean, the thing is dark as hell, though.
Yeah.
It's gritty, it's dark. I don't think it's. There's no point in that film where it seems particularly sunny to me, literally or figuratively. So.
This is a movie, though, where I think that there's dangerous method acting, and I've seen method acting on set, and it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I get it, but come on. And I've heard stories about it, too, from people who worked with some of those people, and they're quite interesting. But this is a movie, though, where Harvey Keitel had to stay in Lieutenant.
Yeah.
You can't go out of character for this role. I think the scene where he's just sitting there after hitting up doing heroin and then freebasing with Zoe Lund, he just looks like a zombie. He is a zombie in that scene, and you feel it. So what do you think about that? You can't go in and out of. Obviously Keitel hasn't talked about it, but they did say he famously stayed in character throughout. So you need to be.
Yeah, I think, I think to your point, I think this needs to be kind of a Daniel Day-Lewis level of commitment to character because I almost think it would be kind of, in a strange way, I think it would be psychologically damaging to like go in and out of being that character. Like, okay, I'm the bad lieutenant while we're filming, but I'm just going to be friendly Harvey Keitel. I'm going to buy you a lemonade after we're done shooting for the day, sort of thing. I don't know where the lemonade came from. I just figured, maybe if you don't drink your freaking lemonade, kick him out of the house. Yeah. But no, I think, and according to the documentary, they said he was going through some personal problems. I don't know what they don't elaborate on what he was going through at the time. So, I think someone told him like, try and channel what you're going through personally into this character. And I think he went to a really dark place. So maybe in a sense, he was being the lieutenant because it was kind of purging him maybe through the performance of some of these things he was feeling in his personal life or some of the things he was going through. Who knows? Yeah.
And that's a great point. And I did find a really good interview with him where he said
Mhm.
that there's a lot of turmoil going on in his life, but then someone said, "You're always playing a violent character." And he said, "I have played characters who are in deep conflict. I've never played a violent character. I have played
Mm.
characters who are in deep conflict and despair and chaos." He said the lieutenant has a deep need. He's a family man. He has children. He knows he is bad, but he has a deep need for redemption. That's the way he saw it. And he didn't even want to
Mhm.
play this role at first.
Oh
He
yeah, he said he threw it in the trash when he got the script. Yeah.
like all 65 pages that they said. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like 65-page script. Yeah.
yeah. Who wants to read 120? Like who wants all this head?
See, that's why I love Abel Ferrara when he just tells it like it is.
If I can roll it up and put it in my back pocket, that's what is great. Not cargo pants. I could fit a lot of stuff in there. You know what? If Abel talked about cargo pants for a half hour, that would be my favorite movie ever made.
Oh my gosh. If you can't fit the script on a wet cocktail napkin, then what are you wasting my time for?
Hey, where'd my napkin go? My script was on that. Oh, I shouldn't have put my vodka ice on that. All right, well now we're down to we just did some rewrites. Just say what you can read.
In all seriousness, I like how the documentary has visuals of for all we know, these are like whole scenes. There's just like a paragraph describing what's going on, and then for all we know, a lot of this, I think they said a lot of the movie was improvised actually.
So you know the producer on that documentary talking about the car scene with the two girls, like, yeah, we were expecting something a lot different, but then Cattell did what he did.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah.
But the producers almost seem dismayed about it, which I love. And
Yeah.
how do you feel about Cattell? Not what he says, but do you feel like he also said this is kind of a mythological quest? Do you feel that way about this? I'm not saying he's right or wrong because it's all personal opinion, but do you think he wants redemption? Do you think he's trying that hard? Do you think the nun really affects him that much? Like what's going on in his brain towards the end when he lets those guys off and sends them on the bus?
Well, it's really interesting, Mark, because I think he has, I mean, he has that meltdown in the church, which I think is one of the great
Oh gosh.
pieces of acting like ever captured on film, where he's just like he's wailing this pathetic like animal like wail, and it's echoing off the walls in this empty church, and he's totally crying, he's losing it, he's screaming at this hallucination of Christ in the aisle, saying all these horrible things to him. And some of the things he says are actually kind of valid too. I think that would any person who has been privy to some horrible act and heard about it, it's like, how could God let that happen? But I don't know that redemption is something he's actively seeking in the film, because going back to your good point about how he's taken uppers, he's taken downers, he has to drink the Coke to stay awake, drink the Coca-Cola to stay awake, that is. It's like
puts Coke in there.
Yeah. There's this Italian horror movie called Demons, where a guy is driving a car around Rome, and he has a literal Coke can with a straw in it, and he's snorting cocaine out of the Coke can as he's driving around Rome. It's kind of funny, but anyway, but yeah, to what you were saying about his drug use, like the ups and the downs, and it made me think just now, it's like, it's not like when we first meet him in this movie, he's just starting to get corrupt. He's like well corrupt.
Yeah.
He's
There's
totally,
no origin story.
Oh no. It's like, you can only imagine what an origin story for this guy would be like. But he's totally corrupt. So
Just put Miles Teller in it. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
Oh,
Give him an origin story. Sorry.
Don't turn it into Too Old to Die Young, please. Oh, good God. But the thing is, like, how much of a tolerance does he have? He probably has this huge tolerance, which is why he's like so addicted to all this crap. It's like he's got to do this because if he's going to get the shakes and he's going to get the chills if he goes without, he's going to go through withdrawal like Ewan McGregor in Train Spotting kind of thing, actually probably a lot worse than that, but
yeah, you're absolutely right with his tolerance. I mean, this is a guy who he's essentially living his life from hit to hit to hit because he doesn't really accomplish anything on the streets.
No,
when he shows up to crime scenes, he tries to steal cocaine. When he makes bets, he's losing at the end. He sleeps on the couch. This is a guy whose life is this schedule of hits. And yeah, his tolerance, I mean, at this point, he probably doesn't even want to get off of it because he just knows what will happen. And he's such a, what's really interesting? Very rarely in movies when you see kind of addiction or descent into madness, is it ever played the way Keitel does it, because he's essentially just become an animal, right? Just a leech who uses, Ebert made a great point. I mean, all he has left, I think, in his life is his badge and his power that comes from that. So he uses that to just not do good, but to do bad to himself and others, pardon the pun. But I thought that was a really interesting point, because that's all he has is his badge and his base needs to keep doing drugs and fueling bad behaviors. So and he becomes so, is this a new thing? I mean, what, because he has 2 young kids.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. I don't want to know his origin. I really don't care about his origin.
No, I don't need, it's like I sit through this movie and it's kind of one of those things where it just kind of, you absorb it, you absorb the filth and the grit of it and kind of internalize it in a way to the point where you can't get it out of your head. So it's like, and never at one point was I thinking, man, I wonder what this guy was like when he was fresh out of the academy and just getting into his job as a beat cop,
Oh god.
Nothing like that. Yeah.
Do 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 do. Yeah, he's just super happy and.
I want something.
Wait,
else.
that song's about drug use. Crap.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Subconscious must have led me there.
Yep.
But I'm so glad we're on the same page for that, because it's so refreshing not to see that descent. It's just nice to be in it for a while, and that makes me really happy. And one more thing too is, I'm pinballing all over the place, but whatever.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
The thing about this movie is there's a moment where Zoe Lund talks about vampires, and she talks about vampires are lucky because they eat off others. We have to eat it ourselves. Now, as much as I get that and I understand it, that's probably the part I least enjoyed. Not that I didn't like it, because that's the only moment that felt very on the nose for him.
Yeah, and you know what, Mark? I was thinking about that as well. It's like I like the sentiment, and I like how just, knowing what happened to Zoe Lund, it's just it's sad to hear her say that kind of, because you know what happened, and but at the same time it feels like, she gets up, she walks out of frame, and then you hear that line. It almost feels like they put that in post, kind of, so we weren't looking at Harvey kind of nodding in his seat, kind of.
We need something.
Yeah, so I almost feel like that's kind of what they did there, but it's true. It does feel like the most, out of everything in the movie, that feels like the most written line in the movie, actually.
And they wrote it 2 minutes before they started rolling, according to Zoe. So
I could believe that.
Written 2 minutes before it was shot. I mesmerized it and did it in one take. She said it's important because she's acute in knowing the journey the lieutenant takes. She shoots him off, sends him off, knowing his passion. She lets him go. But this is a movie that doesn't need speeches. This isn't a Tarantino flick.
Oh, no.
This is, I guess it's the one, because this is a very natural feeling movie. I mean, you know what's interesting? When you know somebody that well and you just talk about sports, that's what you're going to talk about. Hey, what's up, man? When you watch a game? Like, it's becomes that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you and I, it's movies. But if there's a very organic vibe to it and very in the gutter, then that one just felt very poetic. I'm not saying that this character couldn't have that, or Keitel couldn't have those discussions, but this is a guy who's incapable of those kind of discussions now. He's just, down to 4-letter words. You know what I mean? Like, he's not, no big speeches are left on him. He's just all base instinct. So, I mean, I guess he's eating away at himself slowly. And that's what he's been doing. That's what the drugs do.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. Sometimes I don't, if it was a speech movie with speeches, then I would have liked the speech. And I'm not hating on it, but it just sticks out. I think there's a
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Mark. Like I said, I kind of felt the same way when I watched it this last time, because that's a line that I've noticed, like it stands out each time I watch it, and I think it's more because it seems a bit too poetic, and like you said, a bit too on the nose. But sitting here thinking about it a little bit, I can also see it as a bit complimentary to how we're viewing, like literally viewing the lieutenant in that moment, because he's like got his head slumped. He's probably
yeah.
like he's nodding off. It's almost like in a sense that he looks like a vampire's victim. You half expect, instead of track marks in his arm, you expect to see 2 fang marks in his neck, because he looks like Dracula just bit into him, and he doesn't have the strength or the blood to sit upright anymore.
And
So I can kind of see it both ways. Yeah.
no, you make a great point. Absolutely. I mean, that scene of his, you're worried about Harvey. Like, have you slept in 48 hours, man?
Yeah.
And also, if you think about it, vampires, like I've already repeated myself, but vampires drink blood to survive. I mean, this is a guy who uses drugs to keep on his schedule, to always keep medicating, and he's always damaging his body. So to feed his addiction, he's destroying his body. So it's a good point, and it is and like I said, I liked it. I don't think I disliked it. I just think when there's a movie that feels so street, so kind of organic, and then you get a speech, which I guess that's the only thing I had not even an issue. I would just say it was the one thing that took me out of it, which for a moment I went, oh, that's pretty written. I mean, obviously every line is written, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
But
no.
it's still a good visual though, and you're right. It provides a visual, and just seeing him sitting there slumped. I mean, you can't just stare at Harvey slumping for 3 minutes. That would just be asking a lot of him.
Yeah, and I think, Mark, I like how you're calling the line as this shows you how unwritten this movie is.
Yeah.
That you're calling that a speech, and it's like literally like 3 lines of dialogue. That's what passes for a speech in this movie. Yeah.
Oh wow, you're right. It's
just a couple lines. Yeah.
And then that's a speech, because normally he's just mumbling. Hey Harvey, sulk more. Yeah, skulk. Yeah. Yeah. Imagine it's a vampire drinking your blood. Yeah. No, skulk. Yeah, no. Hunch over. Yeah.
Now you say this thing to the Jesus in the church now, okay? Now you say all these horrible things to him, right? Okay.
Oh, that's too far.
Yeah.
I can't use that, Harvey. I'm not looking for an ex. Oh, cut, everybody. I need a break. Oh, Harvey.
Oh, man.
But, he starts talking about how he's weak. He's too weak, and I did so many bad things.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's interesting watching that, because you know what I find interesting too with the whole subplot about the nun, and she's brutally attacked based on a true story, horrible true story, just brutalism, sheer brutalism.
Yeah.
But when she says, I forgive these people, it's really interesting to me. He says, who are you to forgive them? They could go do this to other nuns. They could do this to that. They could do this to this. And she said, well, pray over it. When you are guilty of something, I think there is projection a lot with other people. So she has forgiven these people, and that's her. But since he's such a bad lieutenant, and he is so corrupt, and he tried to, he's like, I'll do anything. He's like, don't worry about the law. But she proves herself to forgive. And when you are such a corrupt human being, at this point, he's just the gum on people's shoes that has a badge. And he's a vampire with a badge. Yeah. And he's just feeding off civilization. Oh, crap. I keep bringing back vampire. But yeah. And then I brought up the addiction, too. What is happening? But
it's okay.
I think when you sense that someone is doing good and you're not, that I think that affects you, whether you know it or not, because then you feel either personally attacked or you feel guilty. It's kind of, you put a mirror up to yourself by seeing this other person, and then just watching his breakdown, which, is drug fueled. There's desperation. But then still he has the power. Like, I'm not giving you your money. I mean, this is this is a guy who smokes crack and coke with the 2 men before he drives them away.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's a really great scene though when he says all that. But then part of me wonders how, if he means it, it's just he admits to being. I think no, you can be a strong person and get addiction and fall because addiction is
Yeah.
a disease. So I'm not going to say that about addiction, but he does have a lot of weaknesses, and it's interesting that he kind of knows it,
Mm-hmm.
but his life has gone so far south that it's going to just be hard to. Do you ever see him having a happy life at home?
No, not even imagining the prequel movie to this. I can't imagine it being a happy life. At least for a couple decades, before we meet him. So yeah.
In the sequel, but Nicholas Winding Refn directs Miles Teller in From Good to Bad, the Lieutenant story.
Too Old to Die Bad. It's 20 hours long.
Yeah, don't call it a miniseries.
I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody else watched Too Old to Die Young, but I like Nicholas Winding Refn, but I hated that thing so much.
Yeah, he's yeah. No.
Did you watch that, Mark?
I couldn't get in. It sucked. I couldn't get into it. I tried. I had a free trial, and I remember trying it, and I just kind of, I was like, this is glacial. This is glacial. This is, I get a lot of free time.
It was slow, and I thought it was strange to be talking about Bad Lieutenant and hailing it for all of the ugliness, but I felt like that thing was just like shock value and ugliness for its own sake, and that's what ticked me off about it. And there was nothing deeper to it than what was on the surface, and that's what ticked me off about that.
And that's why we love, and that's why I know you like it, but that's why I love Only God Forgives, is because there is desperation, there's sadness to the shocking images.
That's a great movie.
When it's shock value for shock value, it's just pointless to me. And that's when I think things are dangerous. I think when it's not having a social message, or it's not having any heart, I guess. So yeah,
it's when you run the risk of like making it look glamorous or whatever, or like you were saying, overly stylized. It's like, oh, Tom Holland was he was addicted to drugs, but they're playing I don't know, they're playing a Marcy Playground song over his rehabilitation scenes. So it's really not that bad, because when you go to rehab, it's a 2-minute montage, and you get to listen to Marcy Playground.
Hanging around
down by myself.
Oh man, and then he's cured. He's like, oh yeah.
Well, it's like, I don't know where these random references are coming from tonight.
They put a couple fever. They put a couple what are like some little scabs on me. They'll make me look sick, and then Marcy Playground and.
Like, give me my cold sore, makeup lady.
Cold sore, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And, one more time. From the brilliant mind of Nicholas Winding Refn comes Good to Bad, the 4-hour cut of how the lieutenant goes from good to bad.
It's 4 hours of Miles Teller walking slowly from one side of the frame to the next. Yeah.
And then stomping someone's head in.
Yeah.
A real human being
and a real hero. Hey, Drive is good. Drive is good.
Oh, because there's he's the Scorpion.
Yeah.
It's obvious, beautiful. I mean, there's significance to the jacket. He's saving a family. He is in a dark place. The violence means something. So yeah, I mean, that's good. I just had to sing that song. I just want to show how hip I am, Johnny, about how many movies and TV shows I know about during our episodes, because I know the crowd you bring to these episodes, and they'll eat me alive if I don't drop some cool references.
I'm digging this, Mark. It's like I said before we started recording. MFF is like free jazz, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's interesting when some people listen to it and they're like, man, you were all over the place. Well, yeah, that's the point. That's what it. My brain, I don't have an ABC brain, Johnny Numb, even though I do research for a living. My brain, I pinball all over the place, and so.
I think that's what makes you interesting, is the pinball, Mark. We call it the Mark Hoffmeyer effect. also known as the pinball effect. Yeah.
Where's that thing going? Now, I've been on some shows before, though, that are very, they have a system, and the person who runs the podcast is very set on that system. So I always respect that.
Yeah.
But if they let me come on and just let me be, then I was on a show, The Rambling Ramblers, talking about Speed Racer, and during it, one of the guys just stopped, and Pete, he stopped and he goes, chaos. 'Cause they just let me go on their show.
Yeah. Chaos reigns.
Yes. Some good old Antichrist.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a feel good.
Which ties into the house that Jack built, which is another show we did.
Oh yeah.
Bringing out the references tonight.
Nice. Yeah, I got a new breast wallet. That movie will not leave my memory.
I'm annoyed about all the wasted pizza in that freezer, but that's just me. Yeah.
Yeah, just give it out before you go to Dante's Inferno. Before you try to climb your way out, give out the pizza.
You know, one would think, Mark, if you're going to hell, why not just take some pizza with you, because it's going to get hot enough that the pizza will cook on your way to hell.
And you could, if any demons stop you, say, hey, you want a slice?
It's just like, you want some pizza? It's good Earth pizza. You probably haven't had that in a long time, huh?
I'd bring like 8 boxes. Yeah. I'd buy one of those cases from Pizza Hut that you can store 8 in and wear it as a backpack.
Oh, nice.
And then just hand out to pizzas to demons. Thanks, Mark.
You know what I'm thinking about now, Mark, is a version of Doom where instead of you have a bunch of different guns and you're blasting demons, you're just like collecting pizzas and giving them to the demons as you're trying to get through the levels. Yeah.
Here's some Sour Patch Kids. Yeah.
The cyber demon is shooting marinara sauce at you from across the room.
Yeah. Stay still, I got some bread. I wonder how...
Crazy bread. Some jalapenos. Come on.
I wonder how hell water helps me. I wonder what that does to the yeast. Because I'm from Jersey, and that's like a whole different effect from when you go to New York.
Hey, that's true, because Jack has memories of the wheat fields from his youth. Yeah. Wow. Yep. Jeez.
Deep.
We're going down the rabbit hole.
Finding some super dark times.
Oh my god.
All right, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more Bad Lieutenant, the 7-hour cut. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And all right, so I'm thinking about the club scene, right, where he walks in, people are just staring at the camera. He orders a vodka on the rocks. And he just laughs at his bookie. He's like, can you just give me the money? He has $30,000 with him at that time. Because he gets it from the drug dealer, who's either abuela, or what, grandma, mom gives him just pills. She's like, you're a broken soul. Here's some pills.
Actually, I was sort of, I'm glad you brought that up, because I couldn't make out what she handed him. I was wondering if she handed him like a prayer necklace or something like that.
Pills.
Or it was pills? Okay, yeah. Never mind.
She's like, you're done. Here's some good times. Like,
I mean, at this point, you may as well, yeah.
It might kill you. It might not. But I don't think you'll care. But walking in the club scene, and he's like, how about $120,000 tomorrow? And you're just like, oh man, Harvey. Like, wait, but it's true though. And listen, I don't need to keep quoting Ebert, but this is a man who has hidden behind the power of his badge. And so he does feel, between that with like the Catholic faith, I'm immortal. I mean, this guy has had so much privilege with his badge and just so much control over other people. I mean, look at what he does to those 2 girls.
Oh yeah.
So this is a man who almost thinks he's invincible, which is quite interesting. I mean, he walks up in crime scenes and just robs people. The scene in the grocery store where he shoots the gun and takes the $500 from the kid. I mean, this guy, he's just like a walking leech. And it's just really interesting watching that scene where he sits him down, he gets $30,000. And I think at that club scene is when he really starts to lose it. I mean, when you're bookie, it's just like, oh my gosh, like they know each other too. He knows his kids. Like he knows who this guy is.
Yeah, because you see him. I think it's his daughter's first communion is when we first see him. Like he comes up and they're talking about the bet. They're talking about gambling in church while this, supposedly great formative experience is happening for this little child, and it's just it's so wrong. And I love how the guy is like, he says it twice. This guy is gonna have no problem coming over to your house and blowing it up with you and everybody in it,
But he's not worried. He just laughs it off.
Oh yeah, he just like has this total cackle fest as the guy walks away. He says, "You can handle your own bets from now on. I'm not gonna be a part of this." Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he's a liability to him now.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, the guy. There's a lot of baseball talk in this movie too, by the way. A lot of Darryl Strawberry.
I think I need you to interpret some of it for me, Mark, because it's totally outside of my. Was he betting on the Dodgers and they kept losing?
Yeah.
Or he was betting on the Dodgers
because he wanted Strawberry to win because he's like he'll get hot.
Yeah.
And then he wanted a game 7 because he said TV rights, they'll force a game 7. So I guess he was in his brain, he had made up a thing saying it'll go to 7 games because they can get more money from TV and stadium sales.
Okay.
Tickets.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. And then it was it was a fake series anyway. They just kind of made up those games, but just watching him react to there's so much Darryl Strawberry in this movie. It brought back actually pretty good memories of hearing about him.
And I know Darryl Strawberry was hugely popular at the time too, as a player. Yeah.
And so like he would jack home like in this thing he hit like a 3-run home run, but they're still losing 11-3. So it's just the height of man. But like don't they say with betting that let's say I bet you $1 and I lose, and then you're like, oh, you want to bet $1 tomorrow? And I'm like, well, I lost $1 yesterday, so I'll just do $2, and then I lose $2. I'm like, okay, well, let's bet 6 just so I can get out on top of all this, and then I lose 6. Like it's a really slippery slope with gambling.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever done like going to a casino or anything, Mark, or done anything like that before?
Yeah, I've been to Vegas, and
okay,
it's I don't like what's interesting. I guess I played poker. And I've also done it gets dangerous. You gotta. I played a lot of poker with my friends, but we played for DVDs. Like we kept money out of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Zach Beckler, who was on this show, John Lazarus, who was the first host of this show for 100 episodes, we would play poker for DVDs. So we would all bring $5 DVDs, and the winner took everything. So it's fun. It was a good time. And but when you get out with money, my problem is I just don't have that attention span. So I entered poker tournaments and I did really good, but I'm a little bit of a gambler. Like I remember I called a guy when I had a pair of 2s one time because I'm like, you don't have anything, and I won, and the guy freaked out. He's like, what are you stupid? And I was like, I knew you had nothing, but then my attention span waned and I just lost everything in the next probably hour and a half. So I don't have the attention span, but then I also have a bit of a wild side. I do like the pinball. So it's, to be a great gambler, you got to look at the numbers. You got to be patient. You have to do all that. Not under the influence.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm not saying I was under the influence, but I just don't have the attention span. I have too much of like a freewheeling side to me.
Oh yeah.
You got to let me be. So it is an addiction though. And it is, you start playing the numbers. And the one thing I've learned and this is from, the only thing I bet on now are Oscar polls. No, wait, I do MMA fights, and the winner sends each other a DVD. So that's my cousin and I do that.
Yeah, I see that seems more fun to me. That seems more more friendly. Yeah.
And it gives no money, but the problem is you just don't go with the sexy picks. Just go with the favorite. That's
right.
Too many people are like, listen, he's a mudder, and if the mud happens, then he'll run in the mud and then he'll jump ahead of everyone because he's a good mudder.
See, I think this is why I tend to lose the MFF polls when I participate. I'm like, even when I try to pick like stuff that I think people have seen and might be kind of popular, it's like someone always cleans my clock. I'm like, I can't even fake these fake these squads for these things without losing most of the time. But anyway,
no, you're right. I mean, listen, I've won 1 over 2 years, and I'm currently in a poll where I think I have 0 votes. So yeah, I think
I came in second actually in the finals for one. That was like maybe 2-3 years ago. Yeah.
And so, but you know what though? I'd rather have fun picking a team that I like that loses than picking a team that I want to win and it loses. Like, I'm gonna pick a
Yeah.
stud and then it loses, or I'm just gonna pick two movies I love.
Yeah,
So
just like to hell with it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of how I am with gambling. So that's why that's a really long way of saying that. Like, I just can't.
Okay.
I'm not a gambler, but the part of it though is the thrill and the addiction. It's the same as drinking. It's the same as there's the highs, the
Drugs.
lows,
Yeah.
the you just got to keep it under control. And the way we do that with DVDs, it's just a good way to keep in touch with your cousin. Like, we talk about fights and we do movie bets, but we send each other really cool stuff. Like, I got some awesome movies from him.
Oh, cool.
He sent me like No Retreat, No Surrender with JCVD, one of his first movies, and I have like 12 of his films down here.
Nice.
I really want to do a Donnie V series because he sent me some awesome. He sent me Vision Quest and like really random films. So
Okay.
I dig
Right.
that,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
not Bad Lieutenant though.
Well, Mark, it's interesting. You were talking about gambling as an addiction and kind of how I'm picturing the people who are on like a roll or whatever, no pun intended, but they're like they're getting a rush off of, oh, I'm just like, oh, nothing can touch me. Here, sexy chick, blow on the dice. I'm on a roll kind of thing, that sort of thing. And it's like the thing with Harvey Keitel in this movie is his life seems totally void of that rush, and maybe in the positive sense, like he's not like Nicolas Cage smoking crack in the unofficial sequel to Bad Lieutenant, and he's getting all crazy and tweaky, he's totally like miserable the whole time.
Yes.
with his highs. It's just like, kind of this monotone prolonging. It's not like he's prolonging the high, but the high is misery kind of for him.
Yeah, he's in the gutter. This is
despair. Yeah,
it's the base. Like, even when he is with those two women, he's getting hugged, and he's watching. But while he's watching, he's trying to pour vodka into a glass, and he gives up, and he just chugs the vodka from the bottle.
He spills some on his chest. Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who is just. I'm telling you, man, he's just the basest. He is an amoeba right now. He's just the lowest.
A sponge.
Yeah, a sponge. He is just stuck on the ground, and even the gambling, I think, is just. He's losing too. Like, it's self. I think he gets very self-destructive towards the end, and maybe. Depression is involved. This is a wildly sad, weak man.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. I can't, when you watch Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage and his descent into killing himself with alcohol. What's interesting is that, there's that liquor scene where he goes to a liquor store and picks all the different kind of bottles. Now, that's a great visual, but a true alcoholic would just buy 50 bottles of Schlitzkes. Like, they wouldn't go do that. They have their poison already. And I think this is a guy who has his poison already. He knows his vodka. That's what it is. He's picked his poison, and he's just sort of getting ready to circle the drain.
Yeah.
And there's nothing romanticized about it. There's no dancing in a liquor store. Man, Nick Cage and drugs. And he does drugs and Face Off too. And he's like, now when he rips all that stuff in Mandy, though, when he rips all that cocaine in Mandy, that makes sense because it's a hyper stylish world, and he's fighting Cenobites.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch Mandy and argue with its lack of reality. Yeah, that's a totally different viewing experience. That's excellent. It's a movie that I rate the same as Bad Lieutenant, but for very different reasons. Yeah,
it's a work of art.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I can't shake Mandy. I really can't. And this movie too, I just love that it's circling the drain. And I keep saying this, Johnny, but this is so rare for me, and that's why I keep saying it. You rarely see a movie that just isn't precious, right? There are circling the drain movies, but the people, they try to keep them likable. There's Descents into Madness where people come out of it at the end. Beautiful Mind and stuff like that. There's movies where, like Mental Illness, and then they're like, oh, I'm cool. This is not that. And I love it for it. And except for the fake blood, where Abel's like, oh, that fake blood in the car is terrible. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I thought that looked a little strange, but it's like that's not what you're focusing on,
Yeah,
really. It's like you're watching Harvey Keitel walk, and kind of half-heartedly look at a scene. Oh, two more girls got shot. Who cares, kind of thing. It's interesting, Mark, listening to you talk about the sort of the movies that kind of soften up the arcs of darkness, as it were.
yeah,
But you think about, you strip away all the depravity and all the questionable morality of Bad Lieutenant, and think about it. Okay, you're introduced to this totally corrupt, abusive authority figure. He's hooked on drugs. He's a drunk. He's a gambler. Well, and then what happens over the course of the movie, or what's threaded through the movie, is the images of the church,
hmm
to the point where it culminates in that last act with him having this one-sided encounter with the resurrected Christ that he's hallucinating. So in a way, it's kind of like those biopics where, okay, this person was a real person and they had trouble with drugs, but they went to the Betty Ford clinic and they came out better than ever, and it's like, and it's kind of like that. This movie does kind of have some of that going through it, but only in the totally different, non-sanitized way. And I think maybe that's why the beats of religion that are threaded through this movie, I think, resonate maybe in a bit of the way that they resonate in First Reformed, for instance. It's like, because it's not paying lip service to the Catholic Church. It's not just like, oh, well, the church saved this person. It's more like, I forgot what I was going to say, damn it.
I mean, religion should be explored, and I
Yeah,
think First Reformed and uh, Bad Lieutenant do that in quite mature ways that I think inflame many.
yeah, yeah,
But they do it in a very mature way, which is more respectful than most things do with religion. If that, like, there's horrible imagery in this movie,
yeah,
but I do think they do try to tackle it with, and they're also showing us religion from a very skewed, terrible man's point.
yes,
So
yeah,
it's a really interesting way to bring that in. And you know what, though, there is a bit of hope when he lets those two people go and he cries and who
mm-hmm.
knows what's around the corner, but then the past catches up with him and he gets shot. It's
Yeah,
and also too, in the real world, you make a move like that, you owe that thousands of dollars, you act like you're untouchable, you're gonna get hit. So
yeah, yeah.
it's and this isn't, I guess you're right, this isn't like a Walk the Line or a Ray, those
No,
biopics
no.
that oh man, I'm terrible. Even like a Train Spotting to a certain extent, which is still a
Well,
good thing, but
yeah, and Trainspotting is definitely a stylized
yeah,
movie
it's its own
too.
beast
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I guess I just like that. There's what's interesting? Sometimes I feel like there are themes that I feel like I could capture in 5 words.
Mm-hmm.
But then this movie does create kind of an amorphous type of, it seems very straightforward, but that's also kind of hard for me to really peg down.
Mm.
But it's just, I guess if I had this, is, I guess I don't want this movie any other way. And I don't want any similar, like, I don't want a movie to try to be this and not hit as hard.
Right.
Like Requiem for a Dream, it's very stylistically, but that ended nastily.
Oh yeah, it's a horrible ending. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it hasn't left me, Johnny. It
Mm-hmm.
hasn't, because you don't see that very often. And so maybe that's why this movie has really stuck with me. Is just, you just don't see this very often. There isn't
Mm-hmm.
a happy ending. There is no crime case that's gonna change his soul. You have so many movies about bad people who come back into things to, like, save an orphan, and then
Yeah.
they find redemption and get shot at the end.
Yeah.
So this isn't that. Like, Harvey Keitel does not save Elle Fanning from cartels.
No.
It's
He's not crazy.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've talked circles around this, and I apologize to everyone listening, but it's just I'm still trying to process this movie. I think it's simple but not easy.
Can I ask you a question, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
I was when I was watching it this last time, I thought it was kind of interesting, the scene, and we didn't come to a resolution about why he lets the two boys go who are responsible for the rape. But he watches the bus pull away, and there's that close up of him just wailing like he wailed in the church, like he's like, You know, it's you can almost imagine him thinking to himself, "I'm trying to do good,
Yep.
but I'm weak, but it's like I feel like in the world of this movie, oh boy, yeah, I don't know that I want to go there. That's a half-formed thought. But my point was what Ferrara does after the bus drives away. He holds a static shot of the lieutenant just walking away, you know, and it just seems to go on for a while. We're just walking
Mm-hmm.
him with his back turned to the camera, and then it's like part of me could almost see the film just fading out there, you know, like he's still left to deal with his, you know, whatever he's going through right now, which might be some sort of weird divine intervention in some weird way. But then we cut to that scene of him just pulling the car up to the curb. Um, and it looks like he might be doing, you know, more bumps of coke because he pauses and then the bookies men come by and shoot him. I don't know. Do you feel like one way would have been better than the other? Or do you think it's appropriate? Do you think it was kind of that? I think you said it was kind of an inevitability that the past would catch up to him, like his demons, I guess, his transgressions, and yeah.
I mean, for me, this movie can't end with him walking away and then do. The sky was gold, it was rose. I was thinking tips up into my nose, and then he does a little spin and throws his fist up in the air like Judd Nelson in Breakfast Club. To do to do with those two girls what he did, to be such a zombie. I mean, this is to laugh at your bookie and to cheat death. As grounded as this movie is, and even with his breakthrough, I think with his breakthrough, when he sends those two kids away, I think he knows that he's not going to get that $50,000 reward, and that he is like he actually obeys what the nun wants. So he thinks that through, but by doing that, it's kind of his death warrant, because that 50,000 won't go to him. So it's he makes that decision, and I think he has to get shot, because the whole time, I'm invincible. Like, that'd be Chekhov's, like, I'm invincible. You can't touch me. I'm a cop. He uses that. And it's just, at the end, by him getting killed at the end, I think there still is a little bit of hope, because you think this man did something almost right at the end.
Yeah.
This man listened. So that's, to me, the ending we want, because it's depressing, but you also know that he obeyed what the nun wanted him to do. He maybe for the first time in his life, he just listened. And that to me is the perfect ending. I don't want a Judd Nelson throwing his hands up in the air with "Don't you forget about me." Him doing a spin move and high-fiving everyone on the street. Like, everyone's everyone's and then he just does a flash dance, footloose workout routine, because he's ripped in this movie. And, yeah, I don't want that ending. I want him getting shot.
No, I was just curious, because it almost seemed like I'm not saying I agree with the ending as well. I just thought it was interesting that Ferrara seems to, like, almost with the walking away thing, you think it could end there. You think he could just cut away and leave the rest to fate. But I think the film makes a really good case, you know, like you said, and like I repeated, of just he's corrupted himself, and he's burned enough bridges, and he's harbored enough ill will that it's just kind of, you're kind of surprised it's taken as long as it has for this to happen to him. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like that walk, because what's great about that is you think, is this guy going to get away? Like, I'm messing with the audience here. That's what he's thinking. You do a better voice than I do. But yeah, you get that thought and that moment. And he, you know what though, but he also lets him live in a lot of moments. There's a lot of long shots here. There's a lot of long takes, not long, there's a lot of takes that are quite long. So I like that scene. You get that moment, you get that a little bit of calmness, and then pop. And I think that hits harder because of it.
Yeah. And then you have, what do you think about the people kind of gathering around the car at the end there? Because that's a case where Ferrara holds the camera on it for, probably past the point where other directors would. It's almost like a weird there is almost kind of like a weird religious kind of tapestry in a way, like, not the Last Supper painting, but kind of, just.
Yeah, he's not the cutaway guy type, not just pop,
No,
pop, cut.
no,
By
no.
keeping that, showing people worried, he wants you to sit in things.
Yeah, linger on kind of I mean, it's in this movie, it's pretty much all bad moments. You know,
Yeah.
linger on the good, linger on the bad, or he lingers. Yeah.
I mean, just the group coming around and just seeing him being shot, and then of course he's gonna have a great funeral, right? He's gonna have
Yeah.
a hero's death, like
Yeah.
buried. His
Yeah.
wife's probably relieved, but
Yeah.
the one thing I thought was weird was that this movie is so brimming with life and extras and people on the street looking at the camera. The street was really bare there for a while, so I was like, are they blocking traffic for this? Because
it was kind of tight from across the street, even though it was across the street. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, what's going on here? But no, I'm happy we sat in that. You just see his body slumped over and just life moves on and that's it. And so he's just another tragedy. So I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. No, I do too. It's definitely one of my favorite movies.
So since it's been way too long, I asked, since we've been doing the Feel Good series now for years, I asked you, because we like to, these movies do wallow quite a bit in the muck, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know, in our Feel Good series, what 5 moments make you happy, legit happy? Like, what moments put a smile on your face? And I'm pretty sure we might have 2 or 3 of the same, at least 2. But I want to know what moments from and then listen to all these episodes too, but what moments from our Feel Good series have you really enjoyed or that put a smile on your face?
Well, Mark, I didn't come up with 5. I came up with 3.
Well, we'll still have one that's the same for sure.
Okay. Well, I was going to go back to our first episode, which was S. Craig Zahler's Dragged Across Concrete, which is another film that sticks to your ribs like oatmeal. It's hard to shake. I loved our little detour in conversation where we're talking about
cooler.
the scene. We're talking about Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson eating sandwiches in their car during a stakeout, and it just goes on for like a couple minutes, and Vince Vaughn's eating a sandwich and then he gets like a salt shaker from somewhere, I don't know. He just pulls up a salt shaker and starts salting his sandwich. I'm like, they must have a mini fridge, like some sort of battery powered mini fridge behind the front seat, so they can just get out their condiments and stuff after they get their sandwiches and all that. So yeah, that was my first one. Yeah,
just the squishing, and that was the one I have number 1 as well. I knew it.
That was just that was such a fun movie to talk about too. I mean, again, it's a heavy movie to watch, but it's pulpier than Bad Lieutenant. But it's still like there's a lot of heavy stuff in that movie, but it's really well done. Yeah,
absolutely. So what's your number 2?
I really liked, I think it was, I swear we were talking for like 20 or 30 minutes after we talked about the movie proper, but it's when you prompted me how, if you were in charge of marketing Paul Verhoeven's L, how would you do it? And we just descended into this thing of like making up fake trailers for this movie, talking about what nu metal music would score the trailer for the fake trailer for L if we were marketing it. In a world where Isabelle Huppert had enough. I don't know. You have to seriously. I love our L episode, but that was like so much fun, just kind of freestyling off just the top of our heads what how we would market this unmarketable movie.
Isabelle Huppert as a woman who doesn't react in any way that you are used to people reacting. You think she's going to do one thing, she does not. And then she does something and you're like, I didn't even see that coming.
Coming this fall, Isabelle Huppert and Harvey Keitel in Elle and the Lieutenant. It's a laugh riot.
The producer's like, we're dead. This movie is, how is this going to get marketed? Oh my gosh. All right, what's your third?
Okay. My third was again one of our detours. We were talking about Green Room, and you asked me. I think most of these happened like after the break. Interestingly enough, I don't know what that says about my memory, but you were asking me what my desert island band would be since that figures into the movie. And I told you it would probably be Nine Inch Nails, and I think that would still be the case. But then we got on this tangent about like actually being on a desert island and like me making a TV out of coconuts and like a friendly tiger that would be living on the island that I could just like curl up and sleep against at night. And I was talking about like hoping like an IKEA boat would kind of like a IKEA transit freighter would come by and like sort of hit a rock and all this IKEA furniture would wash ashore and I would make like a little city out of IKEA furniture.
Heaven on earth.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I still think I have a visual of that stuck in my head. I want that. That's kind of a life goal at this point, preferably before I'm retired. Yeah.
We have a joke. Nick Rehak and I were talking about desert island stuff, and it's like
Yeah.
when you get rescued, like you're the exact same as you were 4 years prior. So when they get you, like the same clothes that you had are perfectly clean. You're shaven. You still have your hat in perfect condition. Nice shoes. Like your toenails look great. You don't have a beard. You're like, oh, hey guys, what's going on? Like, you want some coconut water? You're like, what? You were here for 4 years, man. Like, what happened? Oh, I'm great.
Let me introduce you to Kitty, my pet tiger. Come on, Kitty.
Everyone's like, whoa, no, it's fine. Do a backflip. It does a backflip.
No, I would want Kitty to just like do what my cat does, and she like just like flops over on her side and then rolls over on her back and exposes her belly and just lets me rub it. It's so cute.
Oh man, I love cats. Oh,
I
so
do
great.
too. You got cats.
Ghost and Stella.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
some of the things I look back, like I almost want to do another House That Jack Built episode because
We can.
I love Dylan's performance. And I just love our talk about pizza and all of that. And and you know, then I was kind of thinking about how in the movie there's a scene that whenever I think about, I just get a huge smile on my face.
Oh.
And it's when the rain bit, when he drags somebody and then it rains and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
awesome. And then he just starts smiling. And
washes all the blood away.
I would not have watched that movie if it wasn't for you. And in this series. And I just remember watching that and just going, this is a wicked, wicked movie, but it knows what it is.
Oh yeah.
And that made me really, really happy. And then also too, one of my favorite things is I finally got to talk about the scene in Only God Forgives when you and I talked about Ryan Gosling saying want to fight to essentially a god.
Oh yes, yeah, that was a fun episode, yeah.
And it's, you know, like I used to box and like I used to brawl and like watching that scene and him just getting destroyed, but I finally got to talk to you about that. I don't think that people get the humor of that. Like, this is a kid who walks up to a god and goes, want to fight. And he just gets destroyed. He gets brutalized.
That scene is like, it's like the shots are long shots and they're weird, but you're like, the sound effects are so effective that you feel the punches landing. It's so, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's brutal, yeah.
And then also love our discussion about Thomas Hayden Church and Gina Gershon and the suit pole and Killer Jones.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Because like, I see that gif now and I just smile. Whenever I think about that movie, I just smile. And then, you know, I asked people, I didn't get many replies, but one day on MFF, I was like, hey, what are your favorite episodes that we've ever recorded? And someone's, Dylan Opashard, who also listens to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast, Dylan he said that Green Room was his favorite episode. Ooh. Because he loved our discussion about my bouncing years and how Green Room kind of came into play with that. And we did, like, we talked about bouncing, we talked about that club life and the realism of that band. I've seen that band in bars before. And so just talking about that, talking about the violence in that movie, how it hits so hard. That's like, we've talked about some really cool stuff, and there are conversations that I really love in movies that I like. So I really love our series, and I know this is we're kind of patting our backs, but we got to talk about good stuff and feel bad. You know, in our feel good series, we also got to feel pretty good. So
well, and I kind of like how, to what you were saying, Mark. I wanted to mention how you were bringing out your own personal experiences for the Only God Forgives and the Green Room episodes, because I got a lot out of hearing that. Because I was like, oh, I didn't know this about you and your history. So I was like, that's cool.
Yeah,
because it adds an extra layer to the experience. Yeah.
I was big into boxing, and you know, I never really craved violence. I wasn't Julian. I wasn't Harvey Keitel.
No,
I wasn't, freebasing and boxing. I just loved the act. I just loved the art of it. Like, you know, I'm a researcher and I love to figure things out.
Yeah.
So with boxing and footwork and angles and punches and and even bouncing, I looked at as kind of a
Art.
analytical way where you watch people and you have to be proactive. You have to see things before the dominoes fall. You know, if one domino falls, the others do.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just fun watching those decisions and seeing how everything played out. And you and I also had a really good time about talking about like what dumb decisions are, like quote unquote, what are dumb decisions in movies.
Hmm.
And I enjoyed that discussion as well. But I don't care, man. I've loved our series, so I'm glad that we're promoting it right now. This is great.
No, it's like I hope people go back and listen to those episodes because no shame, Mark. I've gone back and listened to those episodes multiple times. I'm a total whore for listening to myself on podcasts, even if I totally face plant, I'm still gotta listen to myself. So yeah.
Well, editing your episodes are always fun because I find myself listening to the episodes. I always know when I love an episode when I listen to it while editing. Because some I love all my episodes, but like
Oh yeah.
some you kind of find yourself going, oh, this was a fun discussion. Oh yeah, I remember that. So no, but I appreciate it, man, and just promoting our series because you haven't been on a while, and I want people to go back and listen to those episodes, and you got many more to come. So, do you want to
Yeah.
promote anything before we get out of here? Your wonderful podcast and your Halloween
Yeah.
episode that more people need to listen to. And I cut you off, but you need to listen to his take on Halloween because I agree with you.
Yeah, I co-host The Last Knock. For various reasons that I've talked to Mark about. Our schedule is a bit erratic now, but the last one we recorded was back in April, and it was about Rob Zombie's Halloween, and we wound up talking about. Actually, we wound up detouring into our feelings about Halloween Kills as well, and and it's a it was a fun conversation, me and Billy Crash over at Crash Palace Productions, where I also write horror movie reviews. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Someday I'll send something to Movies, Films, and Flicks, Mark. I promise.
Do it.
I need to figure out something to send your way sometime.
Yeah, please do, man. Whatever you want to put together.
I might do a write-up of Deep Blue Sea since the first and only time I watched that movie, I did not like it, which I realize is blasphemous. But
No, everyone has their own opinion, man. I get it. It's no, movies are subjective, man, and
yeah.
I guess the biggest thing for me is when people can totally not like movies. My biggest thing is when people don't try to like a movie. But I'm not saying that's you, so you probably just didn't like it. But
it was like I was 17 or 18, and my appreciation for film and hopefully my maturity as a human being have sort of improved since then, because that's back when I was kind of like, oh, it's cool to hate on stuff on the internet too, so I might not have been giving it a fair shot either. So I picked up a used copy like last year at a library sale. So I have the DVD. I just need to get around to watching it.
Yeah. And listen, it's a Rennie Harlin movie made in '99.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, the guy who did the costuming, he's won multiple Oscars.
Oh, okay.
The guys who did the production design worked on Total Recall. The special effects supervisor, John Cunningham, who's blown up everything in the Harry Potter and Bond films.
Wow.
Rennie Harlin was on the top of his game. I mean, he brought in Stellan Skarsgård, Thomas Jane, who was an indie actor. He brought in like Michael Rappaport, who in '99. So he brought in this really indie cast. I think it has one of the greatest surprise deaths. Also in true Rennie Harlin fashion, there's so many crazy long intricate deaths. And then also a couple more things.
Yeah, go ahead.
The sharks.
I know this is a subject close to your heart, so go ahead.
GQ did this thing where like my marine biologist analyzes sharks and shark movies. And the woman who was watching it was like, wow, that's a Mako shark. They did a beautiful job. Walt Conti designed it. He did Free Willy and Anaconda. So this is a $70 million B movie that just wants to entertain, man. It just wants to like give you a ride. And there's like cliffhanger in the beginning scene. There's a cliffhanger name drop, which I love. Not name drop, but there's like a teddy bear that falls. There's some neat callbacks, and the sharks have a plan. Like that shark who's waiting for Saffron Burrows in her room, that he's waiting to destroy the data. It's wonderful and it's beautiful. And if you don't like it, it's totally fine because movie going is a subjective thing. But I do think more people need to look Halloween into context. Like you've talked about with Rob Zombie, and he made a Rob Zombie Halloween movie for better or worse, but it's his vision and it's nasty.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point we came back to, and it was like me and Bill are kind of weird because neither one of us like the Carpenter Halloween, and I know we're kind of, I know some other people who are kind of
Yeah,
lukewarm
good.
on it. Yeah, and I know some, but you go on Twitter and it's like, what movie are we going to talk about today? Hard Twitter, it's either Jaws, Halloween, or The Thing. No offense to, but it's like, or The Lost Boys. It's like those are the four movies I see being discussed like every day, and I'm like, well, well. I'm not going to complain and be the stick in the mud and say Halloween sucks, but it's like, well, Rob Zombie did something that was kind of like what I wish Carpenter in a way would have done with his film. So I'm kind of like, it kind of answered it kind of answered what it's like. Oh, that's what I want in a remake. I didn't want Rob Zombie to put on his Carpenter suit and do like a Gus Van Sant on a
Psycho.
yeah. Like I didn't want him to do a shot by shot version of Carpenter's Halloween because we already seen it, and I'm glad he took the story and the characters and made them his own. I thought he did a good job with it. So yeah.
And I mean, listen, remakes should act as companion pieces to the original. They shouldn't be like shot for shot remakes or glossier, less gritty pieces. They should act as kind of a peer to it, not a redo.
Or like a compliment, yeah.
Or a Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake that's really glossy and kind of faux nasty.
Yeah.
It should be a companion piece, and that's what I think Rob Zombie's Halloween is. I've had to come to grips with it. I really have. But, I mean...
I know you're not a real big fan of his stuff, so...
Well, I mean, Devil's Rejects, I think, is an excellent film. I can't think of a more gritty, brutal, violent movie. But I do think sometimes you make a movie like that and then you try to recreate it. And it just nothing has felt as organic. Maybe Halloween, and Halloween 2 is a very good looking movie as well. Very well shot. But like,
I think his Halloween 2 is actually a little better than the '07 film. Yeah.
Looks great. And also I think Lords of Salem, he tried something different. It's just when you get into the nastiness of 31, when you get into though the
Three from Hell.
Yeah, Three from Hell. They don't feel as organic to me. They feel more trying to recreate something or tired. So I think his style to be its best has to be like angry. It has to be. It can't be a remake or it can't. Does that make sense? Like it has to be
something more pure, maybe.
Yeah, that's when he's at his best. Because when I feel it's distilled or copying, I don't like it.
Yeah, well, and you can tell even with his Halloween that I know that film had a lot of reshoots because it was Dimension and those pesky Weinsteins for other reasons. They seem to not trust their filmmakers at all because that was kind of like the regular thing was films like, okay, I'm done with the movie. Oh, well, now you have to go back and reshoot it because we got these notes from the test audiences. So it seems like I think there's stuff in his Halloween that's a bit of a compromise. Like he wanted to kind of pay tribute to some of the Carpenter stuff, but he also wanted to do his own thing. I think there's a bit of a push-pull there, but I think he did come out the other side pretty much with the best thing he possibly could have. So
yeah, I mean, listen, for a Weinstein Halloween remake, they couldn't have been happy with that.
Yeah,
like that's like when Tobe Hooper turned in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 for Canon Films.
It's like a over the top slapstick thing.
Yeah, Canon. The people at Canon were like, "Oh no, this is not what we wanted." But yeah, it still feels quite zombie, and it's still very nasty. And William Forsythe, when I watch after, I feel scabs growing on the top of my head. Like, it's so gross in that movie.
Oh yeah.
But no, hey, I know you got to get out of here, but I really appreciate you doing this, and also you're just an insightful guy. I love these episodes. Listen to Last Knock. I like your episodes too, the best of the year. I always go through and watch movies that y'all recommend, and listen to that. Read Johnny's writing. He's very his writing. Yeah, we'd be honored to have your stuff on my site. So I appreciate you being here.
All right, thanks. I thank you for having me, Mark, and we'll set up some time to figure out what'll make us feel good next.
All right, sounds good. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Johnny Nunn, this is Movie Films and Flicks. We'll see you next week.